Hi, and welcome back to Lisa's Stamp Studio. Thanksgiving is not far off, and if you're like me, you're going to be creating a few cards for those very special people in your life, the people you want to give thanks to. Maybe their family, maybe their friends, but either way, I've got a really fun and cute card that's appropriate for all of them. We're going to be using the Birds of a Feather stamp set, and here is that card we're going to be creating together today. I've minimized the coloring, and I'm going to be giving you some tips about creating that collage image around that frame. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Click that subscribe button down below and make sure you click that small bell icon that's next to it. That will send you notifications of when I'm live here on YouTube, as well as when I share a new video. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's card. Here's a good close-up of the card we're going to be creating together. Isn't this fun? I thought by placing those turkeys in a really nondescript area, that would give this card a lot of interest and keep it simple so that you can make multiples. We're going to start by embossing the base of our cardstock. This is crumb cake. I did score it in half right before you joined me. I'm going to be using my bone folder to create that nice crisp edge on my card. I do want to fold it first since I'm going to be using the Pinewood Planks embossing folder. And since I'll be creating this card in the landscape mode, I'm going to be placing this folder on very much like a slip cover. So I'm sliding it between the front and the inside cover of the card. I'm using that crease as a guide to make sure I get my pattern all the way up to the edge. I've got my cardstock and my embossing folder here. I'll cover it with the clear mat and I'll go ahead and crank that through. Now we've got that embossed card front. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. I decided to die cut a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock, and I've used the Stitched Shapes dies. I'm absolutely loving these. They're probably one of my favorite die sets here in the studio. There are 4 sizes of stitched squares, and they also come with 4 sizes of circles as well as ovals. Since I'm going to be stamping a little bit off the paper, I'm going to protect my work surface with one of the small grid papers. I'm going to be using alcohol-based markers, so I'm going to make sure that I'm using my water-based ink, which is my Memento ink pad. I've mounted the turkey image here from the adorable stamp set called Birds of a Feather. Lots of really fun bird images. Each of the holiday occasions are represented here. And I don't know about you, but I can certainly use this one all year round. You'll find this stamp set in the current holiday catalog with Stampin' Up! And if you don't already have a demonstrator and you're interested in receiving a complimentary copy of the holiday catalog or the annual catalog, head over to lisasstampstudio.com and click on Contact Me. I'm inking up the turkey image, and I'm going to stamp one of the images down in the lower right corner. I'm going to turn my cardstock a quarter turn, and I've got a blank area here. I'm going to concentrate just on the head, and I'll turn it one more time. And this time I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on the image to showcase some of those feathers. While I have the ink pad out, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bring in a small piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. You're going to find all the cutting dimensions for today's project down in the video description below if you are here from YouTube. I've mounted the words Give Thanks, and I'm going to stamp those right here in the center. I have one that's already colored for you, but I want to talk you through the use of the Stampin' Blends markers if you've never used them before. They are an alcohol-based marker. You can buy them individually or in the color combination. There's a light and a dark shade. They are dual-ended, and that line indicates the thickness of the tip. For detailed areas like this, I prefer to use the more chiseled tip, which would be represented here by the thin line. You're going to use them just like you would any other markers, simply going to color in. The one thing I love about these alcohol-based Stampin' Blends markers is that you're not going to have any of the streaking or lines that are created by dye-based markers. As the alcohol begins to dissipate, the coverage is literally flawless. Now I'm only going to demonstrate a small section here because I have one that's already finished, but I want to show you how the dark and the light shades work very well together. So I've got the darker shade here, and I'm going to add some pigmentation here along the top and down the side, and then a little bit on this side of his neck and down here at the bottom. Now the magic to the blending actually comes on going back to the lightest shade to bring these two shades together. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use small circular motions since that's a very, very narrow area. The chiseled tip on here is wonderful. It's going to allow you to keep the color within the area that you need. Keep in mind that you need to allow the alcohol to dissipate in order for it to be able to turn its true shade once it's all been blended. And that's all there is to it. Here's one that's already finished. I'm going to walk you through the colors so that you know what I've used. In addition to the crumb cake combination for the actual turkey, I used the cherry cobbler. Then I used the Daffodil Delight combination for the beak and the apron. I used the Cajun Craze combination, and that was for the inside of the feathers and part of the band in the hat. And then the light basic black for the pilgrim hat. After I die cut this stitched shape, I went ahead and used the layering squares dies to create the scallop for the layer on this image. Love, love, love these as well. Look how many different sizes you get. You get the plain squares as well as the scallops. I'm going to adhere this in that area of that scallop die, and I love to use my silicone craft sheet, especially for these small pieces. And I'm going to add adhesive to the back side. You're going to notice that the alcohol markers do bleed through the cardstock. This is one reason I absolutely love using the thick Whisper White cardstock. Not only are you going to get a better blending experience, but you're going to get more vibrant colors. Remember the base of our card? Well, now we're ready to go ahead and attach our image. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to use my dimensionals for the back side. I'm going to place one in each of the four corners. My Thanksgiving cards are going to be mailed, so I'm very cognizant of the mail machine at the post office. To help me take off those paper backings, I love the paper piercing tool attachment on my Take Your Pick tool. So I'm going to go ahead and just lift those off. In addition to that, I love how it kind of keeps them all corralled together. I'm going to mount this image further to the left-hand side of the card base. Remember that greeting? I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to add a dimensional only on the right side, not here on the left side, because I don't want there to be an elevation difference. This is already raised up. This is where my silicone craft sheet is a wonderful thing. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put adhesive here, and I'm going to place a dimensional now on the other side. I'll remove that paper backing. This now can get adhered in that blank area here near the top. Now to finish this card off and give it a little bit extra color, I decided to use the Holiday Rhinestone Basic Jewels. Love the different colors that are on here. It's going to go with just about everything that you're going to create. They already have glue dots on the back, so I'm simply going to use my Take Your Pick tool with that paper piercing tool attachment. I decided to add one here near the greeting. I'm going to use a larger rhinestone here near the bottom. And I'll place a smaller one here in the upper left-hand corner just to give this a little bit of pizzazz. Here's the card I created with you today. Definitely something you can create bunches of. It's even a card the kids can help you color in with their own colored pencils or markers, the one I created before you joined me. If you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. That certainly helps. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.